One of the things that the church does for us when we gather together around a sanctuary is remind us that this place and this time is sacred. Therefore, all time, all space is sacred. But most of us don't live like that. We compartmentalize our life. We say, oh, this is more sacred than that. Now, a person of faith means that you depend upon somebody's other perspective of you. We would say, we would depend upon God's perspective of me, of us, and what we're doing. So what if you were to begin to re-image your work life as being a time of sacred presence? What would that do for you? You know? That the excellence that God calls me to isn't just when I'm with those that I really know intimately and I love, but that, and not just when I'm at work I give my all, but what if it's living a sacred way of life? That all of my life, all of our life is sacred, which means dedicated to God. It means that some another God is teaching me, forming me, blessing me, opening me up, all the things we talk about in this encounter. Whether it's what I do, how I relate, whether it's in person, on the phone, email, texting, all of it. To see that it's all sacred. Now here's the tough thing. We also say as Catholics, either it's all sacred and dedicated to God or none of it is. That's how clear this message is meant to be. So rather than just coming here at 12:05 to celebrate the sacredness of the Eucharistic experience, what if we were to flip that and to say that you are experiencing the effects of the Eucharist, plural, that you've been at your workstation, in every way that you encounter another person? What would that mean? It'd mean all the activity I just named for you. The gathering, the welcoming, the forgiving and being forgiven, the listening, the responding, the interceding, mission. Wow, that's how I'm supposed to live my life? That's living an enchanted life, a magical life, a sacred way of life. Putting it another way, you are being invited as an adult to foster and create your own spiritual life. Therefore, you need an effective method that's especially suited to you. This is so important that the Church gives us thousands of lives of women and men who've gone before us, who've lived out their faith, this sense of the sacred in unique ways. Some of them, yes, are kind of odd and eccentric, but that was them. I'm sure you have some odd and eccentric ways of living out your faith. But the truth is, are you living it out with a sense this isn't about me, but this is the way I'm going to focus on expressing my love for God, by allowing this energetic force of God's presence to flow through me? I imagine you've heard this classic story about an old woman who was walking along the seashore. And she's walking along, she happened to notice that there were many hundreds of starfish that had been kind of beached on the sand. And she'd go by, walking slowly, and she'd pick up one and throw it back in the water. Another one, another one, another one. This young man was jogging by, and he stopped, and he was laughing. He said, "What are you doing?" She said, "Well, starfish are going to die because there was a major storm last night, and they all got washed up." And he looked at the whole long seashore, and there were hundreds and hundreds. He said, "What difference is it going to make to the whole group?" With that, she picked up another one. It's going to make a difference to this one. Odd, eccentric. But for her, she saw what Duns Scotus would say, in the particular reality of this little starfish, it meant something. No, you can't solve all the world's problems. No, you can't fix all the issues here at the ACC. No way, nobody wants you to. It is what it is. We live in a universe that's incomplete, that's groaning for wholeness. What we are asked to do is that whatever we do with an attitude of excellence. It matters to this person. It matters to this situation. And not get lost in, what, did I accomplish everything I needed to do? Maybe not. Maybe not. How do you image God? because how you image God affects the way you live your life. If you see God as a taskmaster, then yeah, you're right. You'll say it's impossible and walk away. But just maybe you end up saving, healing, blessing, affirming, enlivening, blessing another human being by being attentive to this one person. What means do you use to open up to reality as it is? Do you have the openness of the heart of a child, the excitement and the awareness that, wow, something new is going to happen? My brother Larry and his wife Marilee are parents of 4, now they're grown adults, but when they were little kids, they noticed that neither Mary, Lee, and Larry are morning people, and they're grouches in the morning. They noticed that coincidentally, their kids' attitudes were being greatly influenced by theirs. They were all waking up grouches. The whole household was one big grouch. And then they were praying one morning, and Larry got the idea, what if we practice at least pretending to be happy? We wake up. So the first morning this happened, he was assigned to go and wake up the kids. And so he went in and, hey, good morning, wake up, let's go. Really excited. It was like over the top. Oh, Dad, tone it down, that type of thing. But he said within a week, they both noticed the attitude of the kids had changed. They had caught the joy. They had caught the joy. We often get so caught up in our own habitual patterns of talking, of behaving, that we forget we can influence the whole environment just by making one small change. One small change. What do you base your life on? Christianity says that we base it on the whole of the picture. That we based our life not just on physical comfort, but rather we're talking about body, soul, spirit, being present to the whole person, the whole picture. So how do you embody your belief system? Could someone mirror back to you what you believe by the way that you interact with people, by the way that you are present to them or not present? Because insight doesn't do much for helping us change. Rather, it's our own active response. We act ourselves into a new way of thinking much more than think ourselves in a new way of acting. So what do you need to do in a different way to move you to a new way of saying, oh, wow, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that. I like to think that I'm a pretty good listener. But every time I'm misunderstood, I think, okay, God, thanks for the listen. How do you look at your failures? It's like, oh, man. Do we castigate the person who's called us on the failure? Or maybe take a step back and say, I guess I blew it. I'm still a student of listening. I can improve. Attitude is very helpful to waking us up to this call to excellence. How about in the area of recognizing that God invites you to do what Jesus did? And that is to truly receive your life as it is, to experience your life and then to share it. That, my friends, is a summary of what evangelization is all about. So it's about receiving your life as it is, not as you want it to be, but as it is, experiencing it deeply and completely, and then sharing the fruits of it. Because everything that happens to you, everything that's given to you, is an opportunity as a gift to help another human being. Or if you want to be more religious, you can say the same thing about receiving Jesus, experiencing Jesus, and sharing Jesus. Jesus, in effect, by his life, shows us it's one and the same. How do you encounter this wholeness in your relationship with Jesus through your life? How do you experience the fullness of it, heights and depths? How do you share that with others that encourages them, that blesses and affirms them? So this is why, as we turn to our great tradition, we are reminded that we live between two different clouds that we are to really honor. And I don't mean eye clouds, okay? We're talking about the cloud of forgetting and the cloud of unknowing. I'm sorry to say, but most of us Catholics really don't know this tradition. We just say, oh, yeah, it's John of the Cross and Teresa the Child Jesus. That's not for me. Oh, yes, it is. Whatever is given as a gift is meant to be received as a gift and passed on. Through their writings, we can learn from it. What does it mean for us? What is it in your life that prevents you from moving forward in any area of your life? Most of us, it's holding on to the past or holding over another person. Perhaps God's saying, could you put that in the cloud of forgetting and live your day as if it's the only day you're going to have left in your life? Live your life as if it's the first day, the last day, the only day of your life. That's the cloud of forgetting. The cloud of unknowing is, it's a mystery. You recognize you don't have all the answers. You don't know how to fix this problem. You're overwhelmed with this. Okay, God, this one's up to you. All right? So to recognize that you're given those clouds just like the ancient Hebrew people were given a cloud to guide them in their time of feeling lost and anxious and afraid. That you too have clouds that can help guide you in the here and now. What moves you to reach out beyond yourself? What are you passionate about? That's the force of God operating in you, to honor that. How can you move that to a level of excellence? What can help you in that regard? One of the things that help me is to keep connecting with creation. And I find that as a landscaper, as a backpacker, as a camper, a kayaker, all these things I like to do, at its core is the yearning to honor the cosmos respectfully, and what that moves me to do in terms of action. It's what affects my way of looking at graffiti, picking up litter, those type of things. So what are you passionate about? What is your ethical response to that? It's easy for us to talk about it, but as you get immersed in it, you realize, wow, this is a spiritual practice. This is the way I live out my faith. And that's awesome. So bringing this back to the person of Jesus, what might it look like? Jesus was a first century Palestinian Jew who lived his life in an environment that today we'd call tribal. In many ways, he was quite ordinary. And that's why the religious elite had a hard time with him, because he didn't really follow all the religious rubrics. He applied them to the context of people's lives. He tried to humanize them, and that upset the religious leaders. So just to give you a refresher course, Jesus emulated and presented God in the ways that he developed friends, the way he ate with anyone that invited him to eat with him, in caring for others, in enjoying life, in the way that he loved and was compassionate to other people, in the way that he had a grateful attitude towards life. This was, today we'd call it his spirituality. It's the way he lived it. And he attracted people around him. His lifestyle was attractive. It was human. It was real. Is your life that way? Do you attract people to you, or you just scare them away? What do your coworkers have to say about you? Okay? What does your supervisor have to say? If you truly are recognizing that there is a sense of excellence, you can have a very humble approach and say, I know I'm not excellent. Where can I improve? What can I work towards? How can I allow these ideas, these beliefs, to flow from the inside out? Because you know better than I that if it doesn't happen inside, if you're not passionate about it, and you're just here because you got to pay your bills, we can sense it. We can sense it. It makes life difficult for all of us. Now here's the wonderful grace-filled aspect. If it's not there, you can always say, Lord, can you make up what's lacking? My heart's not there yet. I really don't care about my coworkers. I can't wait to get out of here. I'm biding my time. But I realize my attitude stinks. I need your help. I give you permission to work on me, to change my heart. To change my heart. That's an honest prayer. That's an honest prayer. So joy and bliss is living from the center. It's being in tune with your authentic nature. It's your true self. It's what connects you to the big picture. It helps you to see yourself as God sees you. And in that seeing, you are transformed. I remember a woman who was in my home parish. and her name was Pat. She was very concerned. She was in our prayer group. She was very concerned about, in those days we call it the salvation of her mother, because she was, quote, a typical Catholic. But she didn't seem to be passionate about anything. She would just go to Mass, and that was it. And this woman obviously had a great courage. She said, God, would you show me my mother's relationship with you? Is she okay? As she was still living, by the way. And God gave her that grace. And she was really humbled and stunned. She was stunned by the fact that this woman, the vision that she was given, was at a place that, she said later to me, I kept my mouth shut after that because she's higher than I am. We had a great conversation about that. So we may think we're, quote, higher in the kingdom than others because we're doing such and such and such as. That's not ours to worry about. God knows. But one thing we can control is our own attitude, and to recognize as we give ourselves over to this work of excellence that God can liberate us, that God can work through us, and then the amazement begins to happen. Okay? So back to your journals. Those of you who didn't bring them, just reflect on this for a moment. Where is God inviting you to give greater focus to a particular area in your life that you know you could be better at? Now, this is something very concrete. Not, oh yeah, I'd like to be a piano player. No. Something that's real for you, that you know if you gave concerted effort, you could improve at this. And I'll let you choose whether it's at home or here at the ACC. It's up to you, okay? Where do you sense God inviting you to put a greater focus and becoming more excellent at something in your life?